Hey, welcome to the Thought Leader Podcast. I'm Chris Pyron, and for this episode, I am joined by Griffin McCravy from Church of the Highlands, Birmingham, Alabama. Griff,
what's up?
Thanks so much for jumping on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
You bet. So happy to have you here. So you are at Church of the Highlands, Birmingham, Alabama. What do you do there?
I am the broadcast lighting director.
What does that mean? What does that entail?
That's a great question. So we're a multi-site church. So we have a main campus that streams out to campuses all over Alabama and actually a couple in Georgia that we've added in the last couple of years. And so in that environment, we are having local worship, and then our message from our senior pastor is broadcasted out. So there's a team of about 8 or 9 of us that are audio, video, lighting. And so we're kind of maintaining the look of broadcast. So from an audio perspective, video perspective, lighting perspective. So for me, that is usually running on the weekend, as well as sending out song content to the campuses. We really want all the locations to feel like you're one experience, one church, right? There's just multiple reaches of it in different cities. And so we try to sync some of those things up so that it feels similar no matter where you go.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So are you originally from Birmingham or?
No, so I'm from Coleman, Alabama. If you don't farm, you've probably never heard of it. It's a little city about an hour north of Birmingham. So I grew up knowing what Birmingham was. It was like the big city when I was a kid. You know, when we went to Birmingham, it was a big weekend. But yeah, I grew up, mom, dad, sister, really close-knit family. Coleman's a really close-knit community. It's kind of everybody knows everybody. And yeah, fun fact, Coleman is the highest number of churches per capita. So I think Coleman averages like 3 different churches per square block is how the math plays out. Not in reality, you know, there's not 3 on every block, but like that's how the math plays out, is like 3 for every city block.
That's wild.
Yeah.
What's the population there?
I think it's around, probably today's numbers are around like 200,000. It was probably more like about 100, 150,000 when I was a kid, but it's very spread out. It's very county based. Okay. So you've got people kind of everywhere.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So when you were a kid and it was only 150,000 people, what was your childhood like? Like what kind of kid were you?
Yeah,
were you already like techie geeky kid, or were you the jock? Like what kind of?
Sorta. I grew up just playing in the backyard, being outdoorsy. You know, fishing with my dad, things like that. And one thing we always did on the weekend was we went to church. Like that wasn't a question. And super thankful to my parents for raising me like that. But I was always the distracted kid in church. I don't mind admitting it. So it was like, you know, we're here and this is great, but also, you know, it's like squirrel, you know, it's like everything. I'm just distracted by everything. And I really can't put my finger on the moment, but I just remember at some point noticing we grew up in a super small church. We moved to a little bit larger production church when I was in probably late elementary, early middle school, but we started out in a really small church, and all I knew tech was sound. I mean, that was basically all we had. It was like fluorescent lights, you know, and then the lighting's done.
Right.
And so I really only knew to equate like tech stuff to the soundboard, but that was I just noticed something has to make these mics work and all that, and just kind of curiosity killed the cat, as they say. And when we moved from the church we were at to Northbrook, the church I kind of went to for like middle school, high school, they actually broadcasted on TV back in the day.
Really?
Yeah, and so I basically, long story short, they had a lot higher production, obviously, broadcasting. And so I joined their team running ProPresenter, running lyrics. That was kind of my intro into production. And so it's just kind of grown from there.
Awesome. So after that, what was the next step for you? So that was during, you said like middle school time frame?
Yeah, probably like middle school, maybe early high school. Yeah.
Okay. So what was post high school like then for you?
Yeah. So getting closer to played sports, played football in like middle school, and then that kind of turned into golf because my dad made me. I'll always say it that way. My dad made me. Now that I'm like a little bit older and like my own adult, I love playing golf.
Right.
But in high school, it was like, Dad's making me go to practice today. You know, it's like I wish I would have stuck with it. Well, I really enjoy it now.
Why do you say your dad made you? What happened?
He enjoyed golf and he wanted somebody to play golf with. 100%. 100%. That is the only reason why. It didn't matter if I was good or not. It was just, I want somebody to play golf with. 100%. I'm calling it.
Just didn't want to go out all by himself.
Yeah. But, you know, golf definitely left room for other things, whereas like middle school football obviously isn't like the craziest of things, but football, especially in Alabama, is a really big deal. And so if you start playing high school football, that's when it kind of takes a step up and gets a little more serious. You are still just in high school, but you're starting to look at already thinking about scholarships and where could I play, things like that. So never really got into any of that. Started doing golf, and I left room for activity. And when I went into ninth grade, a friend that I had that was I think he was a junior when I came into ninth grade. He was in the theater program, but he wasn't acting. He was doing tech theater. Okay. And I was like, what is tech theater? And he was like, well, it's, the sound and the lights and the set designs and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, that's cool. That's like sort of like the stuff I used to do at the church. So it kind of like, married the two together a little bit. And it basically, he was like, well, you should come hang out sometime. And so started hanging out in tech theater, took the class in ninth grade. And my buddy, he was very much kind of like one of the main student leaders for the program. And so as he was stepping out of high school, it just kind of naturally became like I kind of stepped into it a little bit, like just kind of taking the reins on some of it. And me and a friend of mine that have grown up together since probably first grade, I guess, is when we met. He had a similar journey, a little different. He had a couple family members who were kind of already in the industry. So he knew it as like, maybe a career one day or something like that. And so the two of us just kind of, two best friends in theater, I actually started doing audio first. Crazy bombshell thing right there.
All right.
If you know me as a lighting guy, I started out doing audio. He did lighting. And then I think it was after our sophomore year, we basically literally had this moment one day where he was like, I really like doing what you're doing. And I was like, well, I really like doing what you're doing. So we like flopped. And then he became known as the audio guy. I became known as the lighting guy. And the rest is history.
That's funny.
Yeah,
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's interesting how many guys I know in the lighting world, and myself even being in the lighting world. I started as a 12-year-old kid in church, mixing behind a Mackie console. That's how I got started too.
Yeah, so. Theater was really when it started to become like lighting and audio. Up to that point, it had been like I knew what they were, but I kind of never really got to do much with them. But like Pro Presenter, things like that. And a guy that went to our church, he would let me like sit with him and just kind of watch what he did on the audio console, but it had never really gotten deep enough for me to fully understand it. So honestly, theater was where I started to learn a lot of the kind of tricks and skills and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Cool. So you did the tech theater stuff through high school. What happened after high school? Did you continue in the tech vein?
Yeah. So it got to the point where, honestly, just being realistic, like I knew we weren't going to have money for me to go to like any kind of major like university probably if I wanted to do production. So like Full Sail is something people are probably familiar with. At that point I was starting to hear about it and I was like, well, maybe how do I like figure out how to get into that? Or like, I just kind of really didn't know. I knew Nashville, which is where our beautiful backdrop is tonight. Yeah. I knew that Nashville was a good place to get kind of into the industry somehow. I think a lot of people say that sentence. And if they've gone through it, they know what they mean. But if it's somebody who's trying to get into it, they don't really understand that sentence.
Right.
And that was where I was at. I didn't really understand what it meant. I just always heard people say like, oh, well, you got to just like get started in the industry. And it's like,
it's like this air quote statement.
Yeah,
get started
like, okay, but like, don't say that. Like, actually tell me how.
Right.
So just trying to figure out that process. Came up to Nashville. I think we stayed here for like close to 2 weeks, just kind of going around to a couple different places. Couple places more kind of theatrical based, couple places more technical based, like Belmont right down the road from here. Went and did like a big whole official tour with them. Like they walked me around for 2 or 3 days, and that was more like theater based because Coleman High School has done pretty well in the theater awards, like high school level for this region, kind of this part of the country. And so being from Coleman High School's theater department didn't carry like, a full ride somewhere, but it was like, hey, like we would be interested in you because you were at Coleman.
It's a known name.
Yeah. Especially in like thespian awards and, all that kind of stuff. Sure. And so anyways, long story short, took a tour of Belmont, didn't feel right, not sure why. Took a tour of MTSU, didn't feel right, not sure why. Kind of came back home, a little bit of like, I know I'm going to be self-sufficient enough to figure out what the next step is, but also like just kind of like not sure what the next step was at the same time. And so I went to a church that's based out of Birmingham called Church of the Highlands. Went to their student conference that summer called Motion Conference. Went with my youth group that I was about to be leaving, so it was kind of like, one last hurrah. And a buddy of mine who I'd grown up with, knew him since probably second grade. I was best man in his wedding. That was later down the road, not in high school.
Not in high school.
Not in high school. But anyways, he convinced me to go to this student conference with him. And Church of the Highlands has a college called Highlands College. And so at the time, if you fast forward to today, it's a fully accredited university. At the time, it was really just kind of Bible school.
Okay.
It was, you could do an associate's degree through another university, but you were kind of like doing online classes over here and then ministry training in person at Highlands.
Okay.
And so basically, I just went to the student conference with my buddy Brandon, and he was like, hey, during one of the sessions, there's an opportunity to go to what they called a preview day, which was just like a quick synopsis of what Highlands College is. If you're interested, if you're at the age where you're about to be ready for college or you're going into college, like feel free to come like hear like a 1 hour talk about what it's about. And so he wanted to go for worship. He was like, I don't want to go alone. Will you go with me? So I was like, yeah, fine, whatever. So I go to the preview day with him. Craziest God thing. By the end of it, nothing like bad happened. It just wasn't what he thought it was going to be. Okay. So he was like totally not interested by the end of it. Like the thing ends and they're like, okay, we're available down front for questions, you know, if you want to chat or whatever. He's like, all right, I'm done. I'm ready to go back to the hotel. And I was like, no, I kind of want to like go down and ask some questions. After I knew nothing about it before the preview day, little session thing. Yeah. And then just from being there, I was like, man, this actually sounds really interesting. And they briefly touched on like, oh, and we have production. It was said like kind of like that. And I was like, wait
a minute.
Oh, really? So anyways, went down, asked some questions, got some more information. They're like, yeah, it sounds like you're interested and you're the age where like you're ready. Like it is the next step if it's right for you. So you should sign up for a preview day in person at campus and you can go like spend a day. Like you go to one of their chapel services, get to meet some of the instructors, things like that. Fast forward, do that, and I am like, I'm ready. I think I want to do it. And so the only thing was, and shout out to my mom of all people, you know, mothers always end up being the ones that like keep us on the right path. She was like, you know, it sounds great, sounds good. It is attached to a church. And this was the godly wisdom coming out of her. She was like, you need to attend the church for a little while. And make sure that basically they're not crazy. You know?
Yeah.
It's like make sure it's not, you know, just something totally off the wall, something that, you know, is going to not be a good thing, basically. And so took her advice, worked my summer job that I'd already had for years, went ahead and applied to Highlands College so I could get the process started, but kind of tried to go into it with like, I'm just testing this out mindset. So her and my sister were super willing. They would drive down with me on the weekend. We started attending Highlands, joined the volunteer team there, the Dream Team, and just started serving as volunteers basically through the summer. So like, you know, 2-3 months of the summer.
Yeah.
And then at the end of that, I was like, I still feel a peace about it. And mom was like, okay, well, let's figure out, you know, how to afford it. And my mom, shout out to her. She's been a school teacher for, probably close to 25, 30 years now. Works in special education, just has such the softest heart for kids, for, you know, raising kids the right way. And she was like, you know, I don't know how we're going to afford it, but if it's the right thing, we'll figure it out. And FAFSA is a federal aid for like school teachers and public school workers. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, not to make it like spiritual, there's not many moments in my life where I felt like I heard God, like, you know, people say they like hear the audible voice of God or things like that. For me, it kind of feels like a peace that I'll just get sometimes about stuff, or like something will work out when it shouldn't have worked out. And that kind of to me is what I've found to be like confirmation for me. Well, she was like, I don't think Point University was the like education side of it, and that was where most of the cost came from, because from the Church of the Highlands side of it, it was really just kind of some like ministry training, serving on the weekends, stuff like that. And so she was like, you know, I don't know that we can afford it, but, you know, we'll try, we'll see what we can do. A couple weeks go by, long story short, she was like, I filled out a FAFSA education. Point's not even listed on the website as like a school that they offer aid to, but we'll just see what happens. Well, we get a letter in the mail a couple weeks later that almost to the dollar, it's covered somehow, even though it's not a school that's listed as an option.
Wow.
Nothing like that. And that was one of those moments for me where I was like, okay, I got it. I hear you. And so went to Highlands College. It was, at the time, you had to specify whether you wanted to do like a lighting study, an audio study, or a video study. Okay. So I picked lighting, obviously.
Sure.
I've got the light bulb tattoo. Got to pick lighting.
Why not?
Yeah. And so I was in the program for basically my first year. And at the time, it was only a 2-year program.
Okay.
So I'd basically done my first 2 semesters out of 4. Got to the summer. And Coleman only being an hour away, I was like, I could go home for the summer. I could stay here. And in my head, trying to be, a responsible college student now, I was like, well, I'll try to stay in Birmingham, try to stay involved at the church, but I got to make money. I was eating ramen noodles every day in my studio apartment. And so the pool store was my summer job back in Coleman. Worked at the pool store. A kid that I played football with, his dad owned the store.
Like pool servicing?
Yeah. So I worked in the store. There was 2 ladies in the store doing all the testing on people's chemicals when they brought them in. Then I just got to carry the heavy bags of sand out to their car. I was just the grunt work in the store basically. Gotcha. They didn't trust me with the installs. It was just the pool chemicals in the store.
But that much chlorine in that guy's truck.
Yeah. Got it. And so I called the guy who owned the pool store. And I was like, hey, I'm in Birmingham for school, thinking about staying down here for the summer. Do you know anybody that has any pool stores in Birmingham that maybe I could go try to get a foot in the door to have a job for the summer? And he's like, actually, I know a guy. He's got a store. It's their 2 stores are in the same affiliate or whatever, pool stores, whatever. Right. Yeah. And so he was like, I could probably get you an interview there. So I was like, great. Went over for the interview, had it, went well. The guy attended Highlands at the campus down the road where the college was at. So he was like, oh, you go to Highlands College? That's so awesome, yada, yada, yada. So long story short, he was like, before I'd even left from the interview, he was like, you're hired, gave me my pay. He was like, I'm going to give you a company car for the summer. You'll be going out doing inspections, things like that. So I walked away from it thinking oh, that's a pretty good deal. And so I call one of the people on the production staff of the church, and I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to trick you into something. Just genuinely take this at face value. I'm a broke college student. I'm going to work at a pool store in the summer, but I did manage to find one in Birmingham. I'm going to stay in Birmingham. Could you give me a couple of days during the week, if they are days that are y'all specific, project days or, work days or things like that, so that I can try to be around as much as I can and help and still learn even during the summer. And the guy that I called, his name was Patrick. He was like, that's an odd request, but I like it. He was like, give me a couple days to figure some things out and I'll call you back. And I'm sitting in my red Chevy Silverado outside the pool store and called him on the phone as soon as I left. And he told me, give me a few days. And in my head, I was like, you need a few days?
To figure out if there's a rehearsal day on a Wednesday that you need help?
Yeah, I was like, do you need a few days? I was like, okay, but I was trying to be, respectful. I was like, sure, yeah, okay, whatever you say. Anyways, couple days go by. Don't hear anything, and I think I texted him, and I was like, hey, man, just checking to see what days are available. They want me to start this Friday, but I also need to tell them, what days I can have off. And he texted me back almost immediately. He was like, dude, I'm so sorry I haven't hit you up. Give me one more week. And I'm like, what? Why? I just need an off day. So anyways, the week goes by. I'm putting this guy off at the pool store. He's like, dude, you're crazy. He was like, I basically gave you a job when you walked in the door. I need you to start working for me. I'm like, dude, I don't know what's happening. So in the midst of all this, a couple more days go by. It's probably a Monday or Tuesday now. Patrick texts me. He says, hey, let's get lunch on Friday. And I text him back okay, looking forward to it. But in my head, I'm like, if this dude doesn't tell me an off day while we're eating lunch, I'm going to leave this lunch hot.
Right.
So we go to lunch. Long story short, I just get slapped in the face and humbled by God again and get offered a full-time job at Highlands.
You were looking for a day or two and you got a full-time job offer.
Yeah. So long story short, what I didn't know God was doing in the background was Patrick went back to our head of production at the time and was like, hey, there's this college student who's killing it. And he wants to know what days he could have his off days at a job he's going to work outside the church in the summertime just to hang out and be around the church. And Justin Firesheets, a super close friend of mine who was the head of production at the time, he said back to Patrick, well, would it make more sense to just hire him and let him do on-the-job training? So I don't know any of this is going on in the background. So in about a week and a half, they pull everything together, do all the paperwork, get it cleared with HR, all that kind of stuff, basically make a spot for me just to be the dumb college student that's going to learn stuff. And he offers me the job. most people listening probably aren't familiar with Birmingham, we have a shopping center called the Summit, and it kind of sits up at the top of the main highway in Birmingham that looks down on like where a lot of the traffic is in Birmingham. It's got a super beautiful view. And to make a long story short, that's where our senior pastor, Pastor Chris, was visiting Alabama for a totally different reason, went to the Summit to get a cup of coffee at the bookstore there, and heard God say to him, "You're going to pastor the people on Highway 280. So, to make it full circle, Patrick booked us a lunch at Chewy's, which is a Mexican restaurant at the Summit, intentionally calls ahead and tells them to seat us outside. It's like 95 degrees. Our food's like blowing off our plate because it's summertime and it's windy and it's muggy. And I'm sitting there the whole time like rubbing my face and like, why are we sitting out here? And then at the end of it, he's got this blue envelope. And he sat on the side that doesn't have the view, sat me on the side that does have the view.
Okay.
Slides the envelope across the table and says, "Pastor Chris came to Alabama on accident, basically. And while he was here, he heard from God and he listened. And I want you to have the same view while I tell you that you are the person that needs to be the next one on the lighting team at the church."
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy.
That is
crazy.
So cool.
It gives me goosebumps still to this day when I talk about it.
That is so cool.
8 years later.
And I've been to that Chewy's before. I know exactly what you're talking about. So
yeah, it's crazy.
That's wild.
That's what happened after high school.
Awesome. So when was that?
So that would have been, I came on staff in May of 2017.
So you joined the team in 2017.
Yeah.
Still there today, obviously.
Yeah.
But you're not in the exact same role.
No.
That shifted a little bit.
It did shift a little bit.
Talk about that one. What was that like?
Yeah, so following kind of the same heartbeat of why they brought me on the team, really, I kind of, let's go ahead and hire him and give him on-the-job training of what we want him to know. My first position was a central lighting assistant. So there were, I think at the time, 4 of us total that had that job description or job title. Then we had different job descriptions. So my description for my part of being a lighting assistant was I would say that I'm probably pretty outgoing for an introverted production person. And so they latched onto that quickly and made me kind of the team person. Okay. So at the time we didn't have as many campuses as we do now, but we still had quite a few. And so during the week, we're kind of all working on the same projects, helping launch buildings, build out rigs for campuses, things like that, streamlining our systems, just all the kind of week-to-week things. On the weekend, when it's game time for church, I was traveling every weekend. We usually have 3 morning services, so I'm usually trying to hit usually a portable campuses, load in, hang out with them, help them, show that we're here to help too. Mm-hmm. Hang out with them for their first service, leave in time, usually around the time the message starts to get to another one, close by-ish, and then finish at a third campus for the 11:30. And I'm really hanging out with the teams, connecting with them, kind of being a pastor for them, within production, making sure they're good, making sure there's nothing they need, and then the business side of it too, hey, do you have any gear not working? If a campus during the week is hey, such and such isn't working, a lot of times it would end up in the back of my car, and I would be showing up on Sunday morning to swap it and then hang out with them. So I was kind of on the call, support and repair.
Right.
I was, support from a more think through why this isn't working standpoint. I was just staying on the phone on Sunday mornings and then getting to a couple of them in person to hang out with them as well. So that was kind of first thing I did. And then we kind of restructured our team a couple years ago. And we had never really had kind of all the areas were like lighting, that we had several people in all the production areas, but nobody was really assigned anywhere. We were kind of just carrying out different tasks. So a couple of years ago as a team, we were hey, we really want to make sure we're being consistent with our broadcast. So we're going to kind of create this branch off within the production team called broadcast, that we're going to pull people, not necessarily new hires, because we need them to have the heartbeat, the look of Highlands. So we're going to kind of make it work and try not to keep a team without what they need, but pull a couple people from a couple teams to make the team that kind of handles the broadcasted services. So I got picked to be one of those, and so that was how I got the title Broadcast Lighting Director. And so at that point, I became Grants Mill for everything. So for a while, I was the only lighting guy. There was me and another lighting guy on the team, but he was more repair, processes, things like that. As far as an execution standpoint, I was kind of the guy in the seat for probably really through what became COVID. So really about 2 years of if we needed lighting for something, I was headed up there. So kind of the more like in the seat position. And then just other random responsibilities picked up along the way, like the whole content thing, sending it out so that all the campuses feel similar on the weekend, communicating that out. But that kind of has become my more day-to-day now is I would say at like 10,000 feet, being one of the voices of what does Highlands look like. So also communicating to the campuses structure and planning and why we do what we do and that kind of stuff. And then on the weekend, me and another guy, another broadcast lighting director, are kind of rotating, sitting in the seat on the weekend.
So you're leading the team now. How big is the team? Is it just you and the other guy, or are there others there as well?
So there's me and Blake at broadcast,
okay.
And then our broadcast team as a whole is 8 people now. So that's audio, video, lighting, and then streaming, and then our boss, Scott.
Okay.
And then there's some other central lighting guys, central just meaning they're not tied to a campus. We have a distribution warehouse where we store a lot of gear to send it out for new campuses, things like that. That's kind of our central production spot now to park people. So we've got guys on the team doing everything from support during the week and on the weekend to designing systems for campuses, whether that's permanents or portables, designing, doing design work, stuff like that. But our team that's broadcast has about 8 total, but it's me and Blake are the 2 lighting guys.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You've mentioned a couple of times the Highlands look and Highlands feel,
Yeah.
Making sure that the team members catch that. What can you articulate? And I know we're talking about lighting, but can you articulate that verbally? Like what is the Highlands look?
Yeah, the Highlands look is to try to create impactful worship services that are distraction free. So I grew up in a super small Southern Baptist church.
Mm-hmm.
So everyone from my church back home, including my family sometimes at like Thanksgiving dinner, will be like, why do y'all have so much stuff? And I think people try to like answer that question a lot of different ways. I would almost be honest and say I don't have an answer for that question, but I can tell you what we're trying to accomplish. You can walk into a room that's full of fluorescent lights and meet with God. You can walk into a more concert-y feeling service and still also meet with God. There's different levels of impact. There's different levels of engagement, and it's just which one are you trying to get out of your experience? So for us, we don't want to do anything that's distracting, which again, you could make the argument that a 350 panel row LED wall can be distracting. But my argument back to you is it can be if it's not done well.
If it's used the wrong way.
If it's used the wrong way.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to do things in an excellent way, not in a perfect way. We mess up, we get it wrong, we miss the mark, but it did not go without planning that hopefully led to an excellent experience for people. That's kind of the hope. And then, realistically, that looks like we have usually a 3-song worship set on Sunday. And so all of the campuses do the same 3 songs. And the lighting content, so the like song content on the triple wide or LED wall or whatever your campus's surface is the same content. And then we do primary and secondary colors for lighting, so like blue and white. And then from there, we centrally create our show files before a campus launches. So that when the campus gets the show file, they have things to pick from to have a little bit of creative buy-in to it. So I'm not trying to create robots that are just redoing what I asked them to do.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to have creative buy-in. So they're picking positions, gobos, focuses, intensities, things like that. They're painting the stage, but just kind of with some of the base ingredients that we decided and gave them on the weekend. And everything is thought through, prayed through. Like when I pick song content, it hits 3 people on an email that are above me that help decide, like, does this fit? Both the look for this weekend, does this fit what we believe? Is it too red that it looks like hell? Because that is a thing in churches.
Oh, yeah.
All that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of a little peek under the hood at kind of what we're trying to accomplish for the weekend.
Cool. So as you're working on the design, either a stage design or even just on the programming for the weekend, where are you getting inspiration from? Like, where are you looking for inspirational pieces to...
Yeah, that's a good question. I'm looking at other churches and what they're doing, but I'm trying to look at it through the lens of what are we trying to do. So, you can take inspiration from anywhere, I would say, even like a country concert in Nashville. Like, everybody does things right. Everybody does things maybe the way you would do it, maybe not quite the way you would do it, but kind of the way my brain works is I'll take little things from everywhere and put them together. I'm not looking at like, oh, so-and-so church did this concert last weekend and this is what their set looked like and I want to copy it. I am a firm believer as a creative of not trying to copy somebody else's work, but you can take ideas and inspiration. And then architecture a little bit, I've kind of learned that from Brian, who was one of the kind of the main kind of first LD at Highlands. He's now on the creative team. He's one of those people above me from a what does Highlands look like viewpoint of he is our director of experience. So that's a very churchy title, but basically he's just kind of staying at 10,000 feet of the next conference coming up is marriage conference. What's the look? He's getting that information from creative. You know, we want to do this kind of lobby signage. We're going to do a set change for it. We're going to incorporate 2 rings into it because it's marriage conference, you know, whatever. He's kind of able to float at that little higher level of what do we want this to look like? And so, all that to say, I've kind of learned he finds production ideas through architecture, just shapes, sizes, objects, you know, even like interior design, things like that. I still haven't quite found the production tie into it, but I'm like trying to appreciate architecture more, I guess. So,
but it works. I've seen a lot of the stuff that he's done, and it looks really great.
It does look really good, and we've tried to make sure and do a good job of leveraging what we have. So, like, shout out to our in-house creative team that my sister's on, but they have really tried to push the envelope of innovation, especially on, like, for example, not just making a background for the LED wall, just an image, but like, what does it look like if we throw it in, you know, light key in Photoshop and put a bunch of fake objects on top of it, push light, virtual light onto it to cast shadows, and then pull the object back out so that you kind of get these shadow, like if you know, have like an arch design, for example, you know, actually make it 3D in Photoshop, blast light onto it, then pull the object out, and all you're left with basically is the shadowing to really just to try to make things more three-dimensional, make things kind of stick out to you. Funny enough, we'll have churches call us all the time. We try to do as much as we can to help and give away to other churches things we've learned, things we've figured out. And we'll have churches call us all the time like, hey, how were y'all able to change the physical set stuff on stage? How were you able to get it out for the message? And the first time I ever got that question, I was like, huh? Because like you've been in our room, like the stage is the stage for the whole service. Like there's nothing coming on, going off, none of that kind of stuff. It's set. Again, some of that trying to not be a distraction where there's no need to be. And the first couple of times I got the question, I was like, huh? And then I realized they were talking about the LED wall. And I was like, oh, you mean our artwork? I was like, no, that's all like images. They're like, what? I was like, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but you know, it's crazy what you can make a camera lens see if you do it the right way. So those are just kind of a couple of the things that we're kind of trying to play into.
Yeah, and you guys do that really well. I remember I saw, this was probably a couple years ago. I couldn't tell you the series, but I remember watching a message from Highlands that weekend, and I remembered seeing the background behind Pastor Chris.
Yeah.
And it looked like, as I remember, it looked like giant blue Legos, but you were looking at like the stud ends that face back out.
Yes, yeah.
And on camera, it looked like that was a physical set because of the way the shadowing was done under every one of the little studs that poke out of the top of the Lego. You know, the ones that really dig into your feet and really get you.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at that going, wow, that's a really cool set piece. Because this was a while ago. I mean, you guys had just gotten, you know, had moved into the big video wall world. But before that, you know, a lot of physical set stuff too. And so I was thinking, man, that looks really cool. I like how they've gone back to a physical set kind of thing. Yeah. And then I think I was talking with you maybe at an LDI or something later that year, and you're like, dude, no, that was all LED.
Video.
And
it's crazy.
It's wild.
It's crazy.
It looks so good.
And that's just another good example of like figuring out, number one, always being a learner. You know, always figuring out new ways to leverage what you already have. And then again, not just thinking you need to throw money at something or get new gear, but how can we use what we have in new ways?
Right.
I love trying to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's super cool. And you guys do that part really well.
We do our best. We try.
Really do.
We try.
So as you've kind of been on your journey through the lighting and production world over your lifetime here, who would you say have been like some of or one of like your key mentors that
I would say Patrick and Brian both for sure.
Okay.
They really found me as, you know, a college student that is now on staff, and they could have very easily been like, hey, just go do that, like, you know, go fix that cable, whatever. Patrick would have me sit with him on Sunday for a long time every weekend. And at first I was like, oh, come on. Like, let me just be the one to run the console. Like, that's what every 21-year-old or 19, what every 19-year-old wants to do. Recently on staff at a large church.
Sure.
It's like, I just want to be the one to flash the lights. I understand how the hog works. Like, let me just do it.
Right.
And so, but what he was doing was he was talking out loud as the service was happening, telling me not what he was doing, but what he was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Not telling me, oh, I just turned up an off mark. I got that. Why did you do it there? I heard this beat, and I'm going to try to match it and pull out this part of the song or this piano line. Like, this is going to be a moment to really push and like bring the blinders up a little bit and glow them and then bring them back out. And really instilled in me a sense of don't take away from what's happening, enhance. That was really kind of what he taught me, which at the time I didn't even realize he was teaching me until later down the road. So I'm super thankful for that. Daniel Cannell, Daniel.
Yeah, DC, sure, yeah.
Daniel, kind of a circle all the way around, just full open-ended story from start to finish. It kind of started with motion. I felt like I really figured out a lot of who I was through student ministry, so it's always been close to my heart. And after a couple of years on staff, it happened kind of randomly. I got an email that like I needed to fill out my registration stuff to like be on the team for motion. And I was like, oh my gosh, motion! Like the student conference.
The conference I went to.
The conference I went to.
Yeah.
Actually, it just made me think of a super crazy thing I need to go back to in a second. But to finish out Mentor, got the email that like, hey, we want you to come hang out for motion. And Brian production manages motion for us from an internal. We use outside vendors and clients to help us kind of production manage like relationships and rentals and things like that, and artists and all that kind of stuff. But internally, Brian, motion's kind of his baby. And so Brian saw it in me and was trying to kind of pull out the same things that Patrick was of, we're going to get you on the team. You're not going to do anything right away, so you're going to get frustrated. But through it, if you stick with it, you're going to kind of learn why we're doing what we're doing. And then you'll have your chance, down the road, which I think is a great way to teach, a great way to learn.
Yeah.
And so got to conference, met a guy named Daniel Cannell, had followed. These were like still kind of the early days of social media, especially like production, like people on social media.
Yeah.
But Daniel was one that I followed, and I was just like trying not to say anything dumb the entire week of motion. Like, I can't let this guy think that I'm an idiot. It's like he'd ask me to go get a, fiber cable, and I'm like, turn around, Google fiber. It's like that kind of stuff. It's like, hey, go make sure, SMPTE is locked on at front of house. Sure. Walks away from him. What is SMPTE? It was like that kind of stuff all week, like just trying to hide myself from him. And I don't know, about halfway or so through the week, I just decided to drop that act. And I was like, you know what? If I keep holding on to that act, I'm not actually going to learn anything. Because he's probably going to realize I have no idea what I'm talking about. And B, I'm not actually going to be able to learn because he's not going to know to teach me because I didn't let him know that I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I kind of just at one point was like, you know what? Here I am is enough. I'm just going to learn as much as I can and drink from the water hose this week. Sure enough, it did. Kind of nothing crazy came of it. Conference came and went. It was great. Daniel did a great job. Fast forward to the next year, we have Daniel back. Now he has me. He brought in a lighting assistant that previous year, and I was just kind of there to hang out and learn. This next year, I'm in the seat with him, so I'm his assistant now. So a little more involved, a little more console time, programming time, things like that. He let me run some of the sessions, with him kind of at my hip, kind of helping me through it, stuff like that. And at the end of it, I'll never forget, and I don't even know if he remembers if he told me all this, but at the end of it, like we were loading out the arena, loaded out front of house, all that kind of stuff. Riggers are starting to come in to bring in points, all that kind of stuff. And he pulled me aside and he was like, hey, if you keep the attitude that you have now and you stay hungry and willing to learn and willing to be the little guy and do anything, you're going to go a long way. And the words, I think if I remember right, the words he said to me is, you'll be somebody I look up to one day. And hearing that from somebody who I have followed and watched, not in a creepy way, Daniel, for years, to hear him say that to me was just, it touched me in a way where I still think about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool.
And so it just, I could almost get emotional about it. It's crazy because it's a close thing to me. Yeah. Crazy story about motion. that year that I attended Motion, went to the preview day, ended up going to Highlands College, the rest is history. I remember Motion is a student conference. It's usually averages between anywhere from 12 to 14, 15,000 people. So it's a lot of people. So when you come as a guest, it's Highlands as student ministry, but it's kind of one of our events that we open it up to outside churches, and that's how it ends up being the size it is it's a lot of churches kind of joining together to send their students back into the school year. Mm-hmm. And so when you're a guest church, you're rotated each session to different seating areas around the arena. So when you get your lanyard, basically, it's going to give you 3 seating locations, basically so you don't have the same crappy seat the whole time or the same like perfect seat all the time and somebody else is getting the crappy seat. You're all paying the same price. So when you go to a concert, there's varying levels. You can pay a little more if you want to have a little better view, whatever. Okay. But at a student conference like Motion, you're paying to be there. Like, we need to make money to do it again the next year, but everybody's paying the same price. So how do you determine who gets what view, where are people at, what's their experience? So our way to solve that is we rotate them around the arena from session to session. So it was the last session. I was way up in the nosebleeds. It was by far our worst view we had the entire conference. And I'm trying to like look down at the rig and like see all the lights and all that kind of stuff. We're like above the PA coverage. You know, it's like words are 3 seconds delayed. It was like the worst seats of the whole thing.
Right.
But I just remember looking down at front of the house, which was just tiny down on the ground in front of me. And I just remember it wasn't even really a prayer. It was more of just like a thought in my head. I was like, and be careful what you say to the Lord, because he is always listening and he will cash in on it.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't even know if I said Lord or God. I was just like, you know, if you ever gave me the chance to like be a part of something like this, I would never forget the me looking down at that front of house. And don't test him because he'll do it. And we had 2 years of Daniel and I kind of helping him do Motion. COVID happened. We did it totally online, kind of a live stream event. The next year, they were actually renovating the arena, so you weren't able to do events in the arena. So we got pushed to one of the kind of convention hall type rooms at the facility. And that was my first time actually being the LD and having Tony Franson with us to kind of help me learn how to make it look good, how to make it, because I knew the church side of it, but how to make something as big as an arena experience look good on camera. How do you make sure you have coverage on everything, all that kind of stuff. Also, Tony is just an incredible human being who I could talk about for an hour. That has taught me so much.
He's
so awesome. Such a great heart, too, for ministry.
Yeah.
But he was with me, kind of helping me through it. The next year, we're moving back into the arena. So it's everyone who knows Motion. It's the first time back in the arena in now 2 years because of COVID and then renovations. So there's already this kind of uptick in energy because it's like they're pushing it. It's like we're back in the arena because we were only able to seat, only is such a crazy word to say for this. We were only able to seat 7,000 that year at Motion in the North Hall because of size. So the next year they were pushing it. It's like, hey, we're back at full attendance. We're in the room, all this kind of stuff. A bunch of new tech gear that the arena has because it's been renovated. It's got some LED wall signage in the room and like a ribbon strip and things like that. A bunch of stuff we're going to get to play with. And lo and behold, Brian tells me, and it's going to be your first one where you're the guy.
Wow.
So I go into it just super nervous, obviously, anxious, but excited. And don't even remember the opener. It was just, I just blacked out. But it went well, I think, because I can't remember it.
Was it exhaustion or nerves that had you?
It was all of the above. But I blacked out. I think the opener went well. We get into the worship set, and like first song is still fast, so I'm still blacked out. Second song is a little slower, so like now I'm kind of a human being again. And then we get into the third song, and my style when it comes to programming for lighting, even in an arena size event, is usually a set list, at least the way we build our set list, is where it starts kind of horizontal, as we say. So it's like praise, you know, with your neighbors around you, like talking about how awesome God is. And we're going to try to transform that during worship to become vertical, where by the end of it, it's more of a one-on-one intimate, like how great you are, God. You know, what a beautiful name you have, songs like that. And so by that end of a worship set for us, the way we do it, it's a little more like hands off, let the moment happen. Still making it impactful, you know, big hits and things like that where it calls for it, but kind of giving it moments to breathe. And that very first moment, I kind of like took my foot off the gas a little bit and let it breathe a little bit. I don't even think I consciously did it, but I looked up like at the nosebleed section where I'd been just a couple years prior. Yeah. And it's so cheesy sounding, but it's literally like a light from heaven was like shining on this one kid who was just like worshiping like crazy, so in it. And it was, again, the same kind of thing where like I didn't really say anything. I didn't like hear a voice, but it was just like a, yep, there you go. And I was just right back to him. I was like, yep, I got you.
Wow. So
just never breeze past the little moments.
Yeah.
And what we actually get to be a part of.
Yeah.
I mean, they say like ER nurses and doctors, they're there for people's worst days. A lot of times we're there for people's worst days too.
Yeah.
A lot of times church, a lot of times ministry, a lot of times people are coming in because they're giving it one more chance, one more spiritual chance. And eternal life is going to be way more important than physical life. Although that's hard for us to say because that's all we know, we're going to figure it out one day, So I don't know. It's crazy what we do.
Wow. That's such a cool full circle moment for you to be sitting in front of a house and see a young man.
Yeah.
What, 4 or 5 years younger than you up there in that same spot?
Yeah. It's like, kid, I'm only 3 years older than you. You wouldn't even believe it if I told you, it's like, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. So you joined the Highlands team at a fairly young age, and you actually hold an unofficial title, don't you?
Unofficial title to be the youngest person ever hired on staff. So when Patrick gave me all the paperwork and everything, I was getting everything filled out, getting everything back to him. And the way our hiring process works is you get a call from our HR rep officially offering you the job. It's kind of like pitched to you, then you're officially offered. Well, Terry, our HR rep, she called me and she said, Griffin, it's Terry at Church of the Highlands. I'm so honored to offer you a position full time. Would you like to take it? And I literally said, let me think about it. Yes. I sounded like the stupidest college student ever. I told our HR rep, let me think about it. Anyways, said that. And then she said, okay, great. And then she goes, and I'm literally driving in my truck and I'm like trying not to rear end the person in front of me because the HR rep just said, after she said, no, we're good.
That's because you said, let me think about it.
Yeah. I was like, I knew I should have just kept my mouth shut. But she said, actually, let me check a couple things and I'll call you right back. I'm like, okay. So what I don't know is she was having to confirm with our Alabama labor law rep that they could hire me because at the time she's calling me, I'm 17.
Oh, wow. You weren't even 18 yet.
Yeah. Okay. I graduated high school. Well, no. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. I'm 18 going on 19, and in Alabama, 19 is an adult.
Okay.
So I'm 18. I've graduated high school, but like the way my birthday lands, it was going to be in the summer. It's actually during Motion Conference. But my birthday is going to be in about 3 months from now. So they're trying to hire me as an 18-year-old for a full-time job in a state where at the time, I think now it's 18, but at the time, 19 was legal adult in Alabama. So she had to call them and make sure that I could work enough hours to qualify as an adult.
Can we actually do this?
Yeah, but they could, and I got hired, and, that's what it is.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, but hold the record officially, unofficially, as the youngest person ever hired. Because they almost weren't able to hire me.
Right. Yeah. Just barely eked in there.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to shift gears a little bit. You talked about some mentors that have poured into you over the years.
Yeah.
We can't sit here and not talk about this thing that we get to do together.
Absolutely.
Called Thought Leader.
Yeah.
And talk a little bit about that. You're one of the senior leaders, one of the founding OG leaders of Thought Leader, as well as a mentor circle leader. You co-lead with Walter Wilson, and you guys lead a mentor circle. Yeah. Talk to me about that. How'd you get roped into this?
I still don't know. No. So, as I came on staff, I was really blessed that our leadership team of Highlands production really pushed us to make contacts with people we didn't know that did what we did other places. He was saying you should at least meet somebody once a month. So that'd be 12 people a year that you don't know that do what you do and do it better. But better not in the sense of bigger or badder, but better in the sense of they have something figured out that it's like, oh, like if I brought that back, that would work really well for something I need to do. So I kind of, my first couple of years on staff, already had that mindset a little bit. And I was, beknownst to me, I think a lot of church production people are drowning a little bit in their problems and don't know who to reach out to. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anybody pushing them to make those connections a lot of times. And so, kind of started on staff with that mindset of like, hey, find people around you who do what you do. Well, then, just from relationships and meeting both you and Daryl, I think it was you actually that reached out to me and was like, hey, we're having this like kind of retreat deal where we're going to get a couple guys together that don't really know each other. We're going to go to Branson, Missouri. I was like, why Branson? It was so that Daryl doesn't have to get on a plane, basically. But it was, let's go to Branson, Missouri. Let's sit in a house for a couple days. Let's eat really good food. Let's have really good conversation, and let's connect with each other and just learn what each other do. We're all in the same world, but we all do things a little differently. Let's just talk and have conversation. And in my head, as being somebody who was kind of used to that, I was like, oh, that's awesome. Like, worst case, I get to spend a couple days with some new friends. So flew out, didn't know that you and Daryl had conspired, that it was basically like, on the job interview. And so...
Actually, I'm going to interrupt you and stop you there. I'm going to remove myself from this because that was 100% on
You know what?
Daryl.
You're right. That's all on Daryl.
It wasn't until a year or two later that I joined into this.
I just feel like you've been in my life for so long. It's just you've been there for all of it.
We've known each other
We've
through
known
all
each
that
other
time.
for the whole time.
Right.
But I would say just in that environment in general, of meeting guys and knowing guys and knowing all of you individually, it was Daryl bringing people in and being like, hey, I just want to connect all you people that probably already know each other at least a little bit, together and just solve problems and get connected and things like that. And so at the end of it, it was kind of like, hey, what would it look like if you wanted to like do this a little more all the time? And I was like, Daryl, I've got a church that I love. I'm not going to leave. And he was like, no, not like that. I want to know if you would be willing to help me kind of steward this conversation and keep it going. And so very interested in that, ended up, kind of agreeing to be a senior leader. And really the idea of the senior leaders in my mind, it's kind of a by the people for the people. So there's obviously, when it comes to finances, things that can get overruled. But outside of that, like it really is a community where the community gets to make the decisions. It's led by members of the community, which I love. And so it kind of, hit a mark at right around the COVID time where it was like, okay, well, how do we keep this kind of train rolling? So the idea came up to do Zoom calls to keep people connected when people were the least connected they've ever been, which is so sad. That's the extrovert coming out. And so I, started leading a Zoom call, and then kind of once we were able to, started doing some in-person events again, things like that. And so, but it really, at the end of the day, it's a place you can go. It's a platform that you can go to get your questions answered, connect with people. And that is combined with calls with guys that you may or may not know that you're able to just, again, have a deeper level of connection with, ask questions. I mean, the guys in Walter and I's group, like Tony, for example, a guy that was just in our last mentor circle, I was texting with him the other day about something that he had a lighting. He had some lights that were randomly flashing that it came up kind of as a joke on a call. He was like, well, I got a bunch of lighting guys in this call, so I guess I'm going to ask a lighting question. And then this is now weeks that it's expanded out that like we're trying to troubleshoot some stuff, track some stuff down. How would Tony have ever had a connection to do that? If not, it literally came up on the call. So that's what I love about it. It's just connecting people together, people you may know, people you may not know. And sometimes it's a little bit of that, I almost hate to say it this way, but that forced connection, like you get invited, it's like, hey, just come try it once. And it's like, once you get in it, it's like, man, this is kind of what I was missing. Because your only other option, in my opinion, is Facebook, which I hate and won't name some groups that I'm in that just are not helpful.
Right.
That are just trying to get the worst out of people's bad day at churches. And everybody's going to have a bad day. So if I make some of somebody else's bad day, karma is going to tell me that my bad day is going to be worse. That's at least how I'm going to look at it. Right. And so it's really just at face value, as simply as you can take it. It's just a take it or leave it. We want to be connected with you. We want to know you. We want to be there for your good days, be there for your bad days. I mean, we have people who we've prayed through things with them, cried through things with them. It's really, and it's all very natural. Which again, kind of like even me coming on staff, honestly, and getting to be a part of motion and things like that. It's the natural to me is when his hand is on it, that it's not forced.
Yeah. So, it's been really cool to be able to sit in the seat that I do within the thought leader community and get to see those moments of connection happen. Like for that example, you said like Tony essentially had a hive mind, like giant tech support call going.
Yeah.
And everybody's throwing ideas and, well, you tried this, let's check this.
Yeah.
And it's been an ongoing thing where folks have been able to continue to help him.
Still haven't figured it out, so I'm not a very good tech support guy, but he has community.
He has a community. Services around it anyway.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I do want to ask you one more question.
Okay. I'll buckle in.
All right. What's the one piece of advice you would give to 17-year-old Griffin?
What's the one piece of advice I would give to 17-year-old me? I would probably say, don't sweat the little things, enjoy them. Some of my most defining moments in ministry so far are also the things that I could have missed easily if I'd been like, whether it's something going good or something going bad, just letting the little moments pass by. I've gotten into this weird habit. To make a long story short, John Maxwell comes and does an event for our college every year, kind of a fundraising type of event. And Pastor Chris spoke at it kind of in tandem with John this last year. And they gave this idea that then Pastor Chris did again for the staff, because a lot of the staff aren't able to be in the room. I am being at most every event, so I hear a lot of things more than one time. And it was kind of the second time PC went through it that it kind of stuck. But John Maxwell has this 10 a year thing, I think is what he calls it. I might have just butchered that. But he loves to go back each year and find like 10 photos from his camera roll, on his iPhone or whatever, and reminisce on them and think about like what those moments were throughout the year, and just literally go back and just like remember, kind of like, close to the end of the year, like remember what's happened and then get geared up for the next year. And I don't know, kind of in like a nonchalant way, I've started doing that more and more recently. And it's really not the new photos I go back to. It's like the old photos of like when I came on staff, and like my first motion night as a, young staff member, and a photo of me hanging a motor that I was probably so not excited to hang, like being 20 years old on staff. And so it's just, I think the little moments can be some of the most impactful moments that are also the easiest to miss, that again, once you're past them, you go back and you're like, man, I kind of wish I'd leaned into that more. It's you don't know how good you've got it till it's gone. It's enjoying where you're at and not taking things too quick. I think we're a society now that is pushed to instant gratification on social media, and instant response from Siri, and instant response from Alexa turning the lights on in our house. And I hope I just triggered somebody's Alexa. I tried to work it in there so that somebody's lights would turn on, because that's my house.
They're sitting there and all of a sudden the lights just come on.
But we've become a society of instant gratification and instant response and instant feedback. And crazy opinion, I don't think we were designed for that. I think sometimes you've got to go through stuff, and you've got to have to sit there and be like, think it over in your head, and okay, what did that actually mean? And I think we just live in a world where we just brush past things too easily. Or maybe I'm just talking to myself, because I am talking to 17-year-old Griffin.
You're talking to yourself?
But maybe there's another 17-year-old Griffin. I don't know.
Well, you're talking to me. I mean, that'll preach. I love that, man. So, well, Griff, thanks so very much for taking the time to jump on the podcast, man. We really do appreciate it.
Thank you.